Hi, hello everyone. I'm Ayano Iwanaga. I'll take over from Yoko and I'll be host for this slot. Let's move on to the next presentation. And next speaker is Chanae. Chanae is Senior UX Designer at Covers Inc. Her presentation title is Finding Success in a Small UX Design Team. Chanae, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Yeah, please start your presentation.
Okay, give me 1 second. Share. Is everyone able to see my screen? Yes, wonderful. Great, so I will get started then. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are here to talk about finding success in small UX design teams. But before we begin, we will have a Q&A session after the presentation. So I do ask that you hold your questions until the end. But first, hello. My name is Chanae Evans. I love to travel the world and experience new cultures through food. I'm passionate about all things design, and especially UX design. And a little bit about myself. I have always been a UX designer for about 5 years, with a passion for impactful storytelling through powerful experiences. I've always been captivated by how UX is a cross between technical and creative fields. And this industry is exciting to be in since it is very design driven. And it has many complex problems to a lot of design solutions that leverages on best practices that is rooted in analytical research and human psychology. When it all comes together, an experience is good. It supports a story, a narrative, and a brand. But when it's bad, everyone, regardless if they know design or not, is aware that something is a little off, right? So bad UX removes people from an experience. And that really highlighted the importance of design, but more importantly, the importance of UX design. My past experiences ranges from working at large Fortune 500 companies, such as Amazon, working on internal customer service products, on a small design team of 2 prototypers, including myself. I've also worked at Samsung, working on a customer-facing as well as business-facing e-commerce experience on a larger design team, but separated into smaller groups of 2 to 3 designers in each commercial space. I've also worked at Microsoft, working on small internal support products, working on a design team of 1, myself, a PM, and a handful of engineers. I currently work at a startup environment like Covers, an SIIC company, working on data management SaaS experiences. Again, a small design team. I also freelance and recently am a UX consultant for Stageverse, which is a metaverse social platform. It's a scrappy startup environment where resources are really small. And I say this not to brag about my past professional experiences, but I want to highlight that at every company, big or small, I find myself in situations where I'm on projects or small design teams across a wide range of industries. Many times, these teams didn't fully understand where UX fit into the picture, or even what UX is, or how to best utilize my expertise. So it's a very common environment to be in, regardless of the size of the company. That being said, how I view this is small teams often means limited resources. And as a UX designer with limited resources, you often have to be a wizard, having to wear many hats. And what does that mean? Not only are you a UX designer having to gather requirements, understand the complexity of user flows, rapid prototype with wireframes, and provide low to high level fidelity mockups, you find yourself having to also touch UI design, conduct user research sessions through quantitative and qualitative methods, and execute some degree of UX strategy with your cross-functional team members. On more robust teams, this would be dedicated professions that you would work on a large team with individuals specializing in UI design, user research, UX strategy. But on smaller teams, it's not the case. It's just you. You, my dear friend, are a wizard, and you're tasked to do it all. So, this might sound very stressful. It's a daunting task to juggle all these roles. And one would ask, how do I become successful given my limited resources? Well, it's really important to be on the same page as far as what we define success. What does it look like? What does it mean? And how do we measure it? And we can look at success as pieces to a puzzle that fit together to form a larger picture. By doing so, this makes it easier to understand what we are trying to measure. We can start with measuring the UX impact of a product. We can start with measuring the UX impact on a product. This is easy, low-hanging fruit, right? So much like finding the corner and edge pieces to a puzzle, UX has a direct impact on the success of a product that is out in the market. With that, there are objective metrics that can be used to measure success. These could be looking at direct impact to revenue through customer acquisition or sales, customer CTAs that were placed in areas that made the most sense, or the overall experience that was so great that it gained a cult following. You could look at business goals and KPIs, increased usability scores or key features that are tracked, look at qualitative and quantitative data, etc. In all, what I'm trying to say is these are very tangible ways you can measure success. It can be captured, tracked, and measured. UX success is product success, and that is easy to see. But on the other hand, and the more difficult area to measure, is the axis, the ability to have impact or measure UX impact within an organization. And we can break this down into two major areas, which we can dive into further. The first one is how UX collaborates with an organization. And the second one being assessing your organization's UX maturity level. And what does that mean? Well, first, how does UX collaborate in your organization, especially in a post-COVID world with distributed teams? Hopefully, as a UX designer, you're not working in a silo. You are working together with engineers, PMs, and stakeholders to build out experiences for your products. Ideally, you would be working with cross-functional teams virtually or in person or a hybrid model. In many cases, you're working on teams in different time zones, whether it be with direct reports or people above you. Along with working with distributed teams, it is important to emphasize the great and clear, concise communication. This may be synchronously through meetings, either in person, Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, or asynchronously through Slack, Microsoft Teams, emails, comments and collaboration software such as Figma, Adobe XD, what's the other one? Sketch, or overall documentation for requirements. Essentially, in this communication point, we are providing some sort of paper trail to help support your team members' ability to be on the same page. Here, transparency is key to maintain alignment in communication. The next piece is working with cross-functional teams. Oh, I'm sorry. So with working with cross-functional teams and having clear and concise communication, this helps establish trust among team members. It helps organizations understand the importance and impact UX has and why there is UX and how to best utilize UX in the design process. This requires some level of UX understanding from other members. This can be done by bringing your team members along your design process, having UX design workshops or lunch and learns, any way that you can build transparency in your process and help show your work through why you've made specific design decisions through research or ideation. This is how you can build confidence in your process and how others can view your process as well, thus establishing trust as you as a subject matter expert in building out experiences. And lastly, which is a huge component of this, there is a business acumen component. Many times you'll find yourself having to pitch the importance of UX or find yourself having to present actual jobs or even design process to people outside your direct team. How would you explain your process in a way that makes sense to the business or to a finance person or key stakeholders who are unaware of the design jargon that is commonly used in our industry? Understanding your audience and using the appropriate business knowledge as it relates to UX is key. This last point could be its own discussion, but that's for another time. So here are the key pieces to assess my organizational impact. If you can work well with cross-functional teams, communicate effectively, establish trust, and have a level of business acumen, you have all the pieces that is needed to assess your organizational impact. But how does it all come together? And what exactly is the bigger picture here, now that I have all these pieces? The goal is to use these pieces to measure your organization's UX maturity, assess where you are now, and identify where you want to go. And so what does UX maturity mean? In a small, short introduction. The UX maturity model was created in 2006 by the incredible Jacob Nielsen of Nielsen Norman Group. Here, he maps out 6 stages of UX maturity, ranges from level 1, meaning your organization has no UX workflow implemented, all the way to level 8, meaning your organization has user-centered design approach. Think of your most favorite product that comes to mind that feels like it was designed with you in mind. On this scale, assess where your organization currently is. This is your base point on how to measure your overall impact and success. So here you can see on this scale, again, level 1 being absent, meaning the UX process is essentially non-existent. There is no UX designer on the team. People are designing out experiences without considering the user in mind. Level 2 is limited, meaning there is a UX designer on the team, but the UX design workflow is often haphazardly executed. So it's not always standardized or often dismissed. Level 3, meaning UX design is functional. There is a dedicated UX design department, and I say that in quotation marks because it exists, but it's not standardized yet. Level 4, meaning structured. So there is a UX process that is implemented. It is effective, but it varies a little bit. Level 5, meaning integrated. So it is universal. There are many cross-functional team members that understand the impact of design. And oftentimes they are included in a lot of the conversations of scoping out features or business decisions prior to getting to the design stage. And lastly, level 6 being user-driven. So these are essentially those key terms when they say user-centered design. Usually this level has UX departments with representation at the C level and representation all the way down. So again, tying this back to how to measure my success. In this example, let's say I am at level 2. I'm on a team as a UX designer, but I have team members that don't quite understand UX. The process is done haphazardly, and it could be definitely improved. I want to highlight that measuring success is not about the destination. So I wouldn't count my success based on when I have finally made it to level 6. No. Let's rephrase how success is measured. In other words, success is a journey and not a destination. Success is measured at every level that you've improved on the UX maturity scale. And you've already collected the key pieces needed to progress each step: cross-functional collaboration, concise communication, establishing trust, and having a level of business acumen. And as each of these components improve, the higher on the scale you'll be. And this is how you measure success. That being said, I would like to caution everyone to take this with a grain of salt, as they say. Very rarely do best practices reflect reality. You may already be on this journey and feel like it's an uphill battle. Some organizations step backwards with restructuring of priorities. Team members may leave. You may have new team members onboarding. Overall team cultural changes may be hard. You may even have a few difficult personalities that you'll have to deal with. It's a lot of work, but I want to emphasize that this work won't happen overnight. And it won't be easy. This is a slow burn. The discrepancy between the ideal and what really happens is a gray area that many books and research and experts out there don't talk about. So we're going to talk about it. In other words, even though you may have a framework of best practices laid out there for you as the books and experts explain, I would advise not to be rigid in your approach on getting there to your goal. You may start at one place and have an idea of your goal of what that looks like. So in this example, you may start off as a circle. You know that you need to end up as a square. You can guess what your next steps are needed to get there. From a circle, I may need to stretch out to an oval, create points to make it look like a triangle, build out another point to a diamond, and then rotate to become a square. This is the strategy on how I will reach my goals. But I want to emphasize that flexibility is key. You must be open to adapting over time. Work with your team to mold to the framework that is best for your team. It may not be perfect, but it is progress. So in reality, I may start off as a clean circle, morph into an oval. Okay, that's good according to plan. Then maybe my team restructures and priorities get reshuffled. Okay, we're not going to plan anymore, but that's not going to stop me. Maybe a team member leaves and I need to start establishing trust and all over again, right? So I'm at my goal, but it doesn't exactly look like a square, but it's close enough. And that is significant progress from where I started. Here is where you define success. If you can take your team members with you and be flexible. So to recap, success is found in small organizational wins as you move up the maturity ladder. Organizational awareness and understanding of UX is a key puzzle piece. Cross-functional team collaboration is another key puzzle piece. Clear communication is a clear puzzle piece. Establishing trust by involving your team members in your design process. Improving your business acumen and adapting and being flexible to changes in UX workflow. That is where you'll find success. If you want to learn more and additional resources, I do recommend reading the 6 levels of UX maturity. This does a deeper dive on the stages of UX maturity written by the person who created it. Another great book is The User Experience Team of One. It discusses many scenarios that I often find myself in, as well as UX strategy and lean UX, which is also common books. I also want to say that I am the co-organizer for the Ladies at UX Seattle chapter. And so I highly encourage everyone here to join our group, regardless if you are physically in Seattle or not. We do hold a lot of virtual and in-person events. Our community is one of the larger ones in North America with 3,800 community members, and we're very active on our meetup page as well as Slack. So if you're not physically in Seattle, we would love to meet you, but please feel free to join us in our virtual events as well. You can find out more information on our Ladies at UX page /Seattle. In addition to that, I would love to connect with you as well. Feel free to reach out to me at my LinkedIn. You can just search my name on the LinkedIn page and you will find me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanae-san. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. And so let's move on to Q&A sessions. Does anyone have any questions? Please type into the Q&A box. Okay. So then, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, I love the slide, the circle turn into the square, and the flexibility is the key. And that's so impressive. So, but I think, but it's very, I think it's hard to flexible as a team. I think I assume there are many conflicts and there are many problems. So could you give me advice to be flexible as a team?
Yeah, that is a very nuanced question. Very difficult to answer because each team is unique depending on the personalities that make up that team. So it really depends on if you have, the kind of problems that you are running into, right? In my experience, I would have a PM, a product manager that may have an ego, that may assume that they know better than what a designer may recommend based off of past experiences, right? It really comes down to picking and choosing your battles. So for example, in my experience, like, do I want to have an argument over a small feature that could be implemented, or would it rather be more valuable to establish some sort of relationship so we can work together? I may not agree with what has been implemented, but in the long run, I'm establishing that trust and communication. So in the future, he understands the value of the design process. If this person understands like research, the amount of research that goes behind making a decision, or what are best practices that are really proven by competitive analysis of products that are already out there. So there are many ways to tackle that. It really depends on personalities, but it is a push and pull. Do I want to fight every battle, or do I want to bring this person with me on my journey so I can ultimately win the bigger picture of, spreading awareness of the UX design process and overall having that UX maturity being improved.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your experience. That would be so helpful. Yeah.
It's not, I will highlight that, this is easy. It's very difficult, especially when it comes to other team members that may or may not understand UX, right? They may see just the design part and not understand that there is a very technical side of our profession. But they only see, the user interface or what's out there in production, which is very flashy.
Thank you so much. So we are expecting many audiences who watch archive videos of this event. So we may receive some questions afterwards. So then we let you know, then please answer that.
Yes, of course.
And could you show the last slide with your contact information?
Yes. There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Feel free to reach out at any time, either through our Ladies at UX page or to me directly. I'm always happy and open to answering any of your questions as it regards to UX or outside of UX.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we welcome to connect, and so everyone feel free to contact Chanae-san. Yes. Hi, Chanae-san, thank you so much for today, and we had a great time.
Thank you
so much. So, okay, we have short break, and we'll start again in about 15 minutes.